Hi, this is Kati Rán from the Netherlands. I'm here with Brutally Delicious podcast, and check it out.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Thank you for joining me. I've got to tell you, I reached out to Katie after I first heard the single, and I love
Yeah.
this stuff.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely love
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm so happy to hear that. I think it's been recently picked up, this kind of genre in music, a little bit more, like having a little bit of a wider reach than ever before. And it's so nice to hear the feedback of all of this material and to
Yeah.
learn.
So
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, I came across Sylvain, which I mean, while it's not exactly the same, it's sort of the same sort of vein. She's got that real ethereal voice, folky thing going on, and a little bit of
Yeah.
metal, and it's just so great. And I think the
Yeah.
dichotomy and the dimensions to it make it amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. By the way, I love Sylvain's work. So it's really nice you mention her sort of in one breath to what I'm doing. Of course, yeah, she's from Norway and I work with material from the north.
Right.
I bring it a little bit broader to like all of Scandinavia, old Icelandic historical sources and mythology from all over the north, you could say. And so
Right.
also this album, it's been recorded in Iceland, in Norway, in Finland. We've really been traveling to capture the sound and the landscape and also some guest musicians from there or specific instruments. So it's really, really nice
Yeah,
to
so we'll get to
dive
that in a
down.
minute because I've got a million
Sure.
questions to cram into this
Yeah.
short little interview. But why do you think? I mean, obviously you're not metal, and this is a metal show, and it appeals to me. But why do you think there's such a connection to the metal world with what you're doing? I can't explain it. I'm hoping you have an
Yeah.
answer.
It's difficult to explain that connection, but on the other hand, I think also from an earlier time, things went a little bit hand in hand there. Of course, we see, for example, the origin of Norwegian black metal. It's such a dark landscape for many, many winter months. And I think there's also been sort of this urge to really express yourself without limitation. And
Yeah.
there's also a connection to the occult arts, of course, that we see very prevalent in metal music and design
Yes.
around that, and the scenery and topics that are portrayed on stages. And so I think if you would sort of condense my music to the Nordic dark folk, also mystical realm, I think there is actually some direct overlap there. And even though it's a little bit more quieter, I would say it's kind of metal in its approach, where we don't want to leave out certain aspects of, for example, nature that are really raw and powerful. And so, even though these instruments are like centuries old, they're still able to really uh, push and drive sort of the limits of your speaker, if you will. Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive in even deeper. So I know this is super emotional music and super ethereal or whatever, but do you ever feel too vulnerable, like you put too much of yourself into these songs? Because I imagine there's a lot of you in there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't really feel too vulnerable. I think it's actually something I rather embrace, because I don't think we should just like sort of act out a certain emotion in our voice or in our songs, but really embody it, to actually touch base with it, to really become the song we are singing. And so, yeah, there's a vulnerability aspect to that, but on the other hand, I think it's also the most purest form of doing art, is to really immerse yourself in it. And also, when I look at these records, there are actually some takes where, whether it's anger or another emotion, sadness, sometimes the voice actually breaks from like a sad emotion, sort of that comes into your throat, like, and so you have that little dryness to the voice. But I think
Right.
that's the beautiful moment. And of course, you can choose to do another take and take, the best one pitch
Right.
perfect. But I think music, it is one of our most powerful ways to convey emotion and to sort of be able to say, let's keep that in there. Let's be raw and real and really embody that. I think it's more powerful to the listener as well. It's more relatable as well. And also, if I look at, for example, a more heavy, like more angry kind of punk sort of sounds that we have going on in one of the tracks, where I really sort of unleash this feminine rage. There, of course, also you can say, well, vocal wise, this is not like the purest form of singing, like, but it's actually that raw grunting, that daring to be less beautiful and sweet and pretty perfect, but to be really raw and unfiltered, you could say. I think that's really, really pure. And I really also like the connection. So in my audio, I also really like to play with doing like a lower, more earthy grunting, or like that rawness and rasp in the voice, and then to flavor it and combine it with these more softer, mystical, and higher pitched layers. So yeah.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. It's very organic, I guess is a good word. And I think in a time when like everything is so polished and produced, like in the pop world and the country world, it's nice like that. And I think the early pioneers in, Norwegian black metal were onto that as well, right?
Yeah.
Decidedly lo-fi and steering clear of all this final polishing just to make it, I think, more organic and real and connectable.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also, of course, there's the layer to it where if you perform something like that in the studio, if you would do take after take after take, it sort of loses the power of the moment.
Yes.
Because then you're more focused on technique. And I think first and foremost, and this is also something metal scene has in common with this genre, with dark folk or like Nordic folk, is that I think we really put that truth, emotional thing on the forefront. And so that you cannot do take after take. You have to be really in the moment, and you can reenact that, all the time. You just have to, accept in a way how it
Right.
sounds and work with that in the most crafty way. Of course, we do have studio solutions for something if it's really off limits,
Right. No, I
I'm
get
not going
that.
to say the album is not like all in one take, not at all. I mean, but it's really important, I think, also for me as an audio producer to find the balance there, to say, okay, we have all the tools to our availability to make
But
something
you don't
that's
have to
super
use them
perfect,
all.
but you don't have to use them all. And I think really finding that balance is very important. Also with these instruments, they are sort of living instruments. They have the sound of their own. If the temperature changes in the room, the strings will sound a little bit different, more
Right.
colder or warmer, like, but it's a matter of working with the material that you have recorded in a nice way, and keeping the balance and the oversight, the meaning of the song in the forefront of view. Yeah.
Perfect. So we alluded to black metal. We've talked about how in the heck did you get the one of the most famous black metal dudes, Gaahl, on your record? How did that
Yeah.
even come
Well, how it came about was me working with these old medieval and Viking Age instruments. 10, 15 years ago, there were very few players of that in Europe. Like, we were a handful of people. And so it was actually Vartruna. It's a group
about?
from Norway. They
Yeah,
also
they've
work.
actually been on the show. Yeah.
Yeah, they are like also kind of like genre pioneers here. They also worked with these very old instruments, and there already was a connection established. And so, very naturally, I guested with them on a few shows with my instrumentation and doing some backing vocals, because there was that click, there was that recognition, like, okay, you also work with this old material, like, welcome, join the nerd club. And there I met Gaahl. And we clicked right away. Like, working with him feels so natural. So like we can understand each other in a recording room without needing a lot of words. And I give him also a lot of room to really bring himself and his sort of characters on
Right.
on the album. And he knows, on the other hand, he can trust me with the audio engineering part, and he knows it will be a very nice song, and so he feels very comfortable working with me and also understands the energies that I'm trying to work with on this album, this thematics, very deeply. So it's a natural combination. I really hear a lot like that our voices sort of work very well together.
Yeah, that was my next thing. I mean, I listened to Stone
Yeah.
Pillars and I'm like, holy cow, it works. For me as an outsider, I've never even been to Scandinavia. He's got
Yeah.
that, from what I see, just that, like that scream or that black metal sort of thing going on. And to hear him
Yeah.
harmonizing with you in the background or even side by side, maybe not even in the background, is amazing or nothing short of
Yeah.
amazing.
He's one of the best vocalists I know and has actually such a wide range. And of course, on the song that is already out, Stone Pillars, I also have two other male vocalists that are forming this sort of man choir that backs up these sort of witches brew that we have on the foreground with
Which is
with
a
the
great
lady.
dichotomy as well, right? Because it's usually a male or a male dominated thing and then the female
Yes.
choir. So I think that's a really cool thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. We sort of reverse engineered that. And so now I have a male backing vocalist. And the other two are Mitch Harris from Napalm Death and Yanni Peu, who is an amazing falsetto vocalist and also my producer together with me on this album. And so it was so natural to have those male voices also blend together and harmonize with me. And
And not
yeah.
necessarily people you would think would be harmonizing anything, right? I mean, Napalm Death is heavy as hell.
Yeah, but Mitch Harris has also same like Yanni Peu, same like Gaahl. They actually have really broad interest in music, also over different genres, and a broad capability to capture different aspects of themselves with the voice. And so it's been so fun. Like really, we were joking a lot. Like this man choir, they sort of need a name of their own. Like these are the most unlikely characters to stand
Yeah.
together and back me up on this song. But it's really beautiful. And also like they really feel and understand the material I'm singing about on this song. So it's really, really nice. Yeah.
Is there something you want your fans or your listeners to take away from after listening to, I don't know, this record or any of your music?
Well, the album SÁLA, it's been like a personal journey for me to craft this over the last years. And of course, every album track on this record specifically is tied into a theme. The Nine Daughters of Ran, which is like different ocean waves of the sea that we see in Nordic mythology, mentioned by name, by feminine name. And so I tied that together with different emotional states. And I think if we look at the emotional inner world of ourselves, the storms that can brew there, or like the more beautiful reflectionary moments, I think this is something that I hope people will be able to relate to be able to release your emotions through art and to immerse yourself in it, to sink sort of in the deep waters of that emotional body and ultimately come out on top, like to make it across, to reach new horizons on your sort of sea travel, and navigate that journey within yourself as well, and allow and accept those emotions to be expressed and sort of catalyzed by releasing them into peace, into resolution, into new shores. Yeah, something like that. I hope people will at least be able to.
Very cathartic, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What is
I think that,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. No, please.
Oh, well, I thought this also really kind of like ties in with the album title. It's called Saula, and this is an Old Norse word for sea and soul. So it is like about the body of the sea and everything around that I could find in historic texts and mythology, but also the soul, like the act of soul retrieval or like working through emotions and processing those. Yeah.
Man, I could talk forever. We're going to be running up on time here because we started late, but I got a question for you. What does this look like live? And are you taking this on the road? And if so, are you taking the man choir with you?
Well, actually, we've started very, very early on talks about bringing this live. I have talked to several musicians that perform on this album and singers. It's something that at the moment I'm still playing with in my mind, even though I have really beautiful offers to bring this to the world, actually with colleagues of mine that I've worked with before, with people that are working with very professional booking agencies. But again, just like the album, if I would do it, because I'm first and foremost more a studio producer than a touring artist, but if I would do it, I think it would have to have a little bit more embodiment than just a concert of sorts, because the material is so dense and so emotional. I think I would more bring it into the realm of ritual performance with sounds, and with these instruments on board. But well, the vision is still not completely crystallized yet. And if there's one thing about my career in music is that if I do it, I really want to bring something special. So at the moment, it's a little on hold. We're focusing on the album release first, but the ideas they are boiling around a little. So yeah, that's where we are at when it comes to live. Yeah.
Awesome. I can't tell you. I was out of all my interviews today, this was the one I was looking forward to the most because I really, really love it, and I listen to it a lot and go, "Wow, this is emotional." I guess is the best word. It strikes a note somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Like to hear that it resonates with people, and yeah, they feel like this is also the feedback I get from listeners that I've had actually for such a long time. Like I'm very happy with these people. I'm still reading all these messages that they write me
Right.
personally, because to hear that something meant a lot for them, or that a song has been played on a funeral, or like that they could release a part of themselves that they were grieving with or having trouble with, that for me, that's the power of music, and also how it works through in our community. That's the whole reason I would say we do this. It's not for any other than that, I think.
Right. Oh, that's fair enough. And I think you succeeded tremendously. It's a beautiful record.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
If fans want to get a hold of you, can you give us all your socials and that sort of thing where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm on the web as Kati Rán. So whether this is Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, my own newly made website, it's all Kati Rán. If you go to katiran.com or Kati Rán on Instagram, you will find me. And there, of course, we have all the links to pre-sales, pre-saves of this album, beautiful products with my label, Swart Records from Finland. So I'm very easily to find, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry we had to rush through that. I could talk to you forever because I really had a ton of questions. Maybe we could do a follow-up at some point. I do have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
I hate to run, but I've got another one lined up.
No worries. And good luck with this one. Thanks for having
Thank you
me.
for the music. Be well.
Bye. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.